Luno, the fastest, easiest way to buy Bitcoin. If you're just getting into crypto, it's the perfect place to start. Hey guys, and welcome back to my show. Today is going to be really interesting, so just bear with us because this is powered by Icon Plus. So a really quick news announcement for you. So this quarter, Icon will not only launch DeFi projects, OMM Finance and Balance, but also upgrade to Icon 2.0. So this will be really interesting. Now, this is sponsored by BlockFi. You can earn up to 8.6% interest on your USDC. On your USDC, I said that really weirdly. And you can actually get, I think it's around $250 when you sign up. So check that out. Now, guys, if you are watching on YouTube, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button so you never miss any of these interesting guests. Now, today, for the very first time, we actually have somebody who is just a little bit younger than me. Usually I'm always the youngest in the room, but it is Young Investor. How are you doing, Zach?
What's up? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I've just been seeing you around, seeing you grow so much online, and I'm kind of just amazed that you're 13, right?
Yeah, 13 now.
So I have so many questions for you. And I kind of just want to start really with being 13 and being in, stocks and crypto and all this stuff is so unusual. So you must get people who are so surprised when you tell them you're 13. What's the first reaction you get?
Well, it's kind of like, so you get your bad side of people. You've got your haters, and you've got like the 99% of people who are really positive. So like obviously all the positive people are always like that. That's amazing. I'm really surprised. I mean, right now I've done like 3 straight interviews on my YouTube channel. I did one with Ross Gerber. He runs a $1.6 billion hedge fund. Gally from Hyperchange, and I just got Dave Lee on investing on, and they, everyone's commenting about saying how much they love the guests on. So it's all been going really, really well right now, and just there's a lot of surprise. It's also a lot of people who just are really, in a sense, they just think, well, it's how can you be into stocks at that young age? Somebody put in the comments the other day. My dad used to tax me 13% when I was like at his age on all my winnings. So yeah, so you always get your mixed reactions, but 99% is always positive.
I'm just so blown away because you're on Twitter, which is just really just an adult's playground. Like that's just the truth of it. And how do you find it? How do you find that? Especially there's a lot of different ideas on there. There's a lot of conversations. It gets very political. Crypto gets really political. Stocks get really political. So how do you find sort of navigating through that and interacting with everyone?
Yeah, well, I think if you're on Twitter, you've always got to be prepared for, a bit of hate, or else don't be on Twitter. I think it's kind of thing where if you're really sensitive about something, then you just shouldn't be on Twitter. But I think Twitter's such a place with so many fluid conversations happening. You have one person talking about crypto, one person talking about stocks, 2 people are both long Bitcoin, arguing about Bitcoin. I think it's actually a fascinating place to see other people's opinions and perspectives on the world in general, whether that's from stocks, crypto, or anything else, maybe somewhere abroad, or current events. You always get everyone's perspective on Twitter. I think that's what really makes the platform special.
Okay, so what about your friends? Are they into this as well, or do they think what you're doing is absolutely nuts and insane?
Yes, I mean, my friends don't really care, to be honest. They're just kind of like, oh, cool, then, we'll do our normal stuff, whatever we do. So if I go out, for a ride with one of them, stocks doesn't come up in the conversation, or crypto, because it's one of the most complicated and boring things in the entire world if you don't know anything about it. So I think that if you just stay away from that kind of conversation topic constantly, then, it's all fun and games, really.
Yeah, I love that. I love that attitude. Even in my own life, my friends are not interested in Bitcoin whatsoever. So yeah, you just stay away from it. So okay, so you say it's boring to everyone else. So how did you first get into it?
Yeah, so I used to be a really full-blown history geek, and I'm sure you know the Rothschilds. They built the very first ever network, which would be able to communicate the best news really quickly. So they had a whole team of messengers which would communicate the wins. So when Napoleon was against the Duke of Wellington in the battlefields of France in Waterloo, obviously we won that battle, which in a sense saved us from French invasion. But then the Rothschilds sent a messenger back to London because everyone used to rely on their network as most reliable and quickest, even quicker than the military's network. When they came to London, they said that we lost the Battle of Waterloo. The stock market proceeded to plunge 80% as everyone wanted to get their money out and flee abroad before the French marched on London. And then obviously the Rothschilds completely lied and brought up all the stocks when they were down 80%. A few people actually caught on to it on the stock exchange and started buying it up as well. And obviously then the stock market immediately rebounded. The Rothschilds made a whole lot of money. So it's kind of things like that when you hear about all this kind of stuff in history, which really inspired me to open a stock market account, and then further on, and then a crypto account.
So given, you're doing all this stuff and you've obviously opened up the crypto account and things like that, what I'm really interested in asking you about really is there any financial education in school? I know you've probably been out of school for ages because of COVID and all that stuff, but do they talk about this in school these days? I mean, Bitcoin's going crazy. Is it even on the syllabus?
Yeah, so I've been at school for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and I've just finished now for the Easter holidays for 2 weeks. So you never hear a word about stocks or Bitcoin at school. And there's no kind of financial education at all. In a sense, that's where the education system really lacks. I mean, I think, investing, just whether that's Bitcoin, whether that's another asset, is just the key to grow wealth in the future. Older and older you get, it's just simple math by compound interest. Whether you want to take a risk and invest in something which Bitcoin, which might be more speculative, or not for your risk tolerance, whether you want to invest in something which, I don't know, might be the S&P 500 index fund. Either one of those ways is really a way to grow wealth. Now, I do think that lacks in the current education system.
So do you think that they're ever going to bring that in? Do you feel a need to sort of, because like you said, it's the best way to grow wealth and, ensure your future and so on. So do you think that eventually they're going to bring that in? And also, do you suddenly feel like a moral need to share your wisdom with your friends and other people at school with you?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it depends. I think we need someone in government who's just all really into this kind of stuff to have that push through. So I kind of doubt it comes into the education system in the near future. I mean, it's lacked in the education system for the last 100 years. These days it's kind of thing where, the whole modern environment has changed. Back when my nan was alive in World War II, when they didn't have running water, hot water, and then the bombs are falling down, compared to now when it's all online, all technology. Hence, we're streaming live onto Twitter and YouTube, all through technology, all for computers, cameras. So I think it's just really an era of which has changed. So obviously education has changed with that era. But I do think the one thing which hasn't really changed is just financial education to people. I mean, my friends know about all my stocks and all that, but I don't push it just because I feel like if it's not something you're interested in, it's not something you're really, really interested in. I think it's always kind of a bad idea if you constantly push it on someone, because then you obviously don't get any friends, because I think you've got to listen to what other people think about what their interests are as well. But I do think that when I put my stuff out on Twitter, YouTube, where there might be, I always hope that some kids somehow get inspired. I was out in my in the precinct a few weeks, last Sunday, and some kid who looked like he's about 11 came up to me and said, "Hey, you're a young investor."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was the he said, "Oh, he loves my YouTube live streams." I'd never met him before, so that's the only other time I've been recognised. But it was pretty cool. It's just seeing that how you inspire people to get into investing. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. More and more people investing, the more and more wealthier you're going to be in that sense. And the quicker you can retire, and the longer you can be retired for, instead of working for the whole 60 years of your life, as the retirement age carries on going up.
Okay, so how do you have this wisdom though? How do you know about that? Because look, you're talking about inflation, you're talking about early retirement, you're talking about things which a lot of people only in their mid-20s come to. So I'm in my mid-20s and I feel like I'm quite lucky because I kind of figured this out when I was about 22. And I think that's really, really young. So how on earth did you come to all of this wisdom? I mean, did your parents talk to you about, I don't know, early retirement? Because also with all this, following and with this following that you have, and with because you have a really engaged following. So with this following that you have, and with all this financial wisdom and all this investing, you're carving out the most incredible future for yourself.
Yeah. So my parents know nothing about finance, especially my mum.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I started investing just from I described earlier all about history. And I mean, I had no clue what I was doing. It was all through kind of YouTube how I learned. how to invest them through the odd like books. So you can see a book by Peter Lynch back there. So it's kind of just through YouTube. And I do think YouTube's kind of the new university. You can learn everything you really learn at university on YouTube. So I really learned everything about kind of the stock market on YouTube. So it's kind of progressed from the stage where 9 or 10 months ago I was just investing in whatever, to now it's kind of like I actually dig deep into companies I might get to see on my channel, and actually dig deeper and take that next step into researching into companies and actually deciding which ones are the frauds and which ones are the next big thing, and the next really 10x opportunity in the markets. So that's really how I just look at it all. I mean, the only other time my dad's invested was something like 40 years ago when my dad put some money into like Virgin Group or something when IPO'd. Yeah, I think he was like 20 then. But then Richard Branson took it like private again 1 week later because the share price didn't do what he hoped. So I kind of after like maybe a month after investing, I got my dad into it. I think he's like
good. I love that.
Yeah. So now hopefully it's more and more people get into investing. The more wealth you grow, all in like long 30 or 40 year time span.
So given what you said about university, YouTube is the new university, especially if you're not, if you're not doing something like medicine and law, then everything else, I think, generally speaking, is good on YouTube. So what are your plans? Do you have plans? No one have even thought about it. And do you have plans to go to university, or are you just building you?
Yeah, I mean, I just take it as it goes. I mean, right now I've got my money in all my cryptos and my stocks on one side. So it's kind of like more and more you build that. I'm aiming for a kind of aggressive, but hopefully I want 1 year's salary by the time I'm 18 saved up. So that's the kind of thing where I'm trying to not to go university in that sense. I mean, if I want to go university, it's always there. There's no time limit. As soon as you're like 25, you can't go to university. It's always there if I want to, but maybe take it as it goes in time.
Yeah, I think I can't give you any advice. I can just give you really informal opinions, which is ditch university and just do what you're doing. Honestly, I just think what you're doing is so amazing. You're obviously so intelligent, and I think everyone is just like so impressed. So how do you pick a stock then? What are the best stocks for 2021?
I mean, the really first way I look at stocks is, as long as the financials are sound, it's got at least really like 2 years worth of cash on the balance sheet, or it's going to have enough in profit to boost that up. I'm trying to look for companies with the lowest, which are growing super high growth and extremely undervalued compared to the amount of money or revenue they're going to make this year. We want to try and get as low as the P as possible. So if you look at something like, I don't know, Upstart, something which is like 20 PE, I don't want to invest in that kind of company. I want to invest in a company which is like super undervalued, whether that's on OTC markets, whether it's just on the normal exchanges, but something which has just been super overlooked by investors. So right now, one of my biggest high conviction trades right now is a company called Peak Fintech Holdings. They're going to be uplisting to the Nasdaq in a few weeks, and they basically are in China, and they allow small family-run businesses to connect with these massive lenders in China and take small loans out between them. So that will help boost like the family business, for example. But when the Chinese lenders aren't all online, aren't all as advanced as technology is right now, they're enabling that to happen. It's also technically Canadian based. It's founded by a Canadian person called JJ. So then you've got that risk where you don't get the delisting because it's based in Canada, not in China. So you don't get kind of China delisting fiasco. They are expected, I estimate around $250 million in revenue this year. I'd expect for guidance in a few weeks, they'll say around 150. For the last few years, they always set their expectations super low for kind of the, set it low, kind of over deliver, not over promise and under deliver. So that's really kind of their whole moral to, so investors are in a sense more pleased than rather all disappointed when you might be with some SPACs at the moment which aren't reaching those kind of highs that you want them to. So the company's worth around $320 million right now. So if they were to get $250 million in revenue, it's just at a super cheap market cap right now. 10 PE or 11 PE is really not unreasonable on a company growing as fast as this, 600% year over year. If they hit 250 million this year and so like 300% last year. So you're in an industry where all kind of the growth rates, it's fintech, where you've got super high Ps, super high things which are pricing in a lot of the growth compared to a company like this is super undervalued in the whole marketplace. So that's really how I can pick stocks. I'm looking for the ones which are super overlooked. When I look at peak fintech, there's no articles about them. You've got to really deep digging, and that's kind of stock I want. I don't think there's hardly any analysts covering it. I'd like zero analysts covering the stock at all, which is one of the best times to invest because the smart money isn't in yet. Uplist to Nasdaq means institutions start to buy in. $50 million raise to complete institutions. So then that won't affect the float, which is the amount of shares which can be traded on a daily basis. Those institutions will be locked up, so they won't be able to trade a stock, which will mean there's no pressure on the current stock price with the float right now. It just add to the outstanding shares, which combined will equal the whole market cap. So I'm just looking for a super overlooked company, super undervalued, which has a super high growth trajectory.
And would you call yourself, I know obviously you've called yourself a young investor, but are you more of a trader then or an investor? Like how long are you holding on to these stocks?
Yeah, so with a company like Tesla, which is something like 40% of my stock portfolio, that's kind of a 3-4 year long-term hold for me. That's kind of the backbone, that's the strength, super bullish on Tesla. What they're doing is actually transforming the world. EVs, autonomous driving, it's all the future. They're far ahead than all the competition behind them. And, look at GM, look at Ford, they're not taking the EV revolution seriously. So Tesla's kind of the backbone at 40%. Strong company, super bullish on it, super bullish on Elon. So that's there at 40%. Then something like peak fintech, which might be maybe a 1 to 2 year hold. So something like that, because it's more speculative. If, for example, that 5x tomorrow or like 5x in the next year, then I'd reassess the whole situation with peak. What are they going to make next year? And if it's kind of the point where Halion said this is a bit overvalued now, I would sell out. And if it's not, I would keep, even if that's went to like that 40% of my portfolio, if it's still in kind of the fair price range for peak. And if I was just getting into stock, I'd be buying it at those kind of prices. So with something like Tesla, which is just super long term, I might evaluate like just three other stocks, which are like the main holds in my portfolio. Arcimoto, which is an EV company, CleanSpark, which is basically transforming the microgrids. Microgrids enable you to. So when the main power grid goes down, slowly over time, microgrids have been draining power from whether that's your solar panels or the main network, and that can keep your house, military base, carry on running for a certain amount of time. Combined with this, they recently brought a Bitcoin mining division. So they're going to aim to scale up to 7-8 Bitcoins a day. That's the same amount as Mara, but Mara's like 5-6x higher than CleanSpark in valuation. And just with that, they're combining the microgrids and the Bitcoin mining to try and make the lowest cost of mining Bitcoin in the industry, which then means on top of that, you can then license all this technology to all the other Bitcoin players. So that's even more revenue on top of Bitcoin mining and microgrids. Then you're also doing Bitcoin licensing or the mining. So I'm just looking for something which is super undervalued. But if there's a company which may be more speculative, so which isn't a Tesla in my portfolio, then that's where I reevaluate it every single earnings and see if the story's changed. Is the story's changed and you want to get out of it? If it's no longer what you are wanting the trajectory of the company to go on, and if it's not, then you keep and then you hold.
So you mentioned the 3 that take up the majority of your portfolio right now, but what would you potentially, can you name us some stocks that you're looking at for the rest of 2021? Can you give us any clues?
Yeah. So my main stock right now for 2021 is Peak. I just think Peak's so undervalued. It is kind of thing where everything went into a domino effect. That could be a 10x stock in like 2 years. If the market picks up on it and starts to realize it, and as soon as you get the uplist to the Nasdaq, just how undervalued it is, it's absolutely insane to me. But then I think just in 2021, I'm looking at some of the SPACs right now. I do think a lot of them are like super overvalued. So I'm just looking at maybe some more companies like Forest Road Acquisition, which is managed with Beachbody. So they're going to be taking 3 companies like MYX Fitness as well. So that's kind of a competitor Peloton, and they're going to be putting them all under this one umbrella company, which is going to be making like similar revenues to Peloton, and Peloton's like, so they're going public a few $1 billion valuation. Peloton's doing something like, I don't know, they're like 40 billion right now. So I'm watching them right now. But honestly, I think at the moment I'm just focusing on 4 core positions right now. That's Tesla, CleanSpark, Arcimoto, and Peak.
Okay, I like it. And you mentioned Bitcoin. So you have to tell me how you initially got into cryptocurrency. And also, do your parents, your parents must know what you're investing in. Do they have any concerns about crypto at all?
No, my parents don't really know what crypto is. So
okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So how did you first hear about it?
Yeah, so I mean, loads of my followers are all. I was kind of into Bitcoin like 9 months ago. I hadn't really heard of it, so I hadn't really done much research. a load of my followers were into when I started picking up on the amount of followers, and all of them were like really into Bitcoin. So I obviously do a load of research into Bitcoin, Ethereum. I do it all on the network. And honestly, I've come to the conclusion over the last few months, Bitcoin is digital gold. That's a currency which will be used to store value on the digital network. People don't want to see the mass inflation where like 40% of dollars in like the last 2 years have all been printed in the US. They don't want to have their money constantly devalued as prices go up. They want to have a safe store of value, and then they can actually transact in the sense instead of having a gold bar which you've got to store. And if you don't have enough space to store all your gold bars, they've got to pay to store it, compared to it's all secure online. So more and more as Bitcoin matures, then you get that price volatility coming down. And I've also concluded Ethereum is digital gold. You get NFTs, you get tokens. So this whole network, which is built around Ethereum, of just all this kind of different funky weird stuff. There's one called Unisocks, which you can just buy like socks, they're actual socks. And
I've not seen that actually.
Yeah, so that's Unisocks. I've got like, I don't know, $100. It's super speculative. But basically, Unisocks were run by this thing called Uniswap, which is one of the creators in the Ethereum network, which is creating code for it. And they issued merch one time about a year ago or something. So the merch is all it's actual socks. And it just
I did see this. I remember.
Yeah, it all has Unisocks on it. So they sold it for about $12. They're not nice, they're nothing special, just socks with Unisocks on it.
Yeah.
Just about a year and a half ago, they sold it for $12. I think now it's like 8,800,000. It hit a high of $136,000 for a pair of socks, which is kind of insane. It says about like 478 of them right now, which haven't been redeemed. So if you have like one pair of socks, you can redeem one pair of socks. You can actually wear them and have it all sent to your address for free. So that's really the whole concept of Unisocks. So it's just one of those smaller things in the whole network, which is super duper funky. It's just got so many use cases around Ethereum. But Ethereum is going to be more of a case. So you're going to have those NFTs. You're going to have all this kind of stuff built around it. But then people will be buying Ethereum as a store of value, but also in the sense to be able to transact on the whole network itself.
So many interesting things there. So firstly, I do remember the socks. That was pretty crazy. I remember when that came out. But okay, so Bitcoin you obviously see as digital gold. You mentioned Ethereum as a store of value. That's really interesting because a lot of people sort of see Bitcoin more as that store of value and Ethereum
more as like currency kind of thing to be transacted on the whole network itself, in my opinion.
Yeah, just like programmable money. And well, somebody once put it to me like this. Somebody once put it to me as Bitcoin is gold and Ethereum is Amazon. The same way you can literally at this point do anything on Amazon, whether it's, watch a film, buy things, and those two things are completely different. So where do you see all the other cryptocurrencies? You're obviously not a Bitcoin maximalist. You obviously see a lot of value in DeFi and NFTs. So tell me where you see the most value.
I think NFTs is a bubble. I think all great things start with a bubble. We saw Bitcoin back in 2017. My opinion on NFTs is a sense it's just become so overhyped now. And I think they will crash eventually. But then in 5 years, 6 years down the road, you're going to see another surge in NFTs, like we saw with Bitcoin, like we saw all the other cryptocurrencies back in the day. I think all great things start with a bubble, and then it's slowly going to build its way back up, as we've seen with Bitcoin this year and in 2020. It started to all build itself back up from those kind of 2017, 2018 kind of crashes from its all-time highs. It's like 18,000, and then you had everyone like selling out of it. And so now, in the sense, Bitcoin is now owned by institutions. Bitcoin is now owned by Tesla, which is an S&P 500 company. It's been now officiated in the sense where back then in 2017, it wasn't like mainstream accepted by the whole society. I think NFTs is not having a flow of institutional money coming into it. So I do think some NFTs will survive and will be valuable. Some of the original NFTs, a majority of them will lose more or less all their value. And maybe in a few years, the ones really stand out, which in a sense are actual artwork. There's now artwork on the digital. If somebody sees a value in a piece of art because they think it's a phenomenal piece of art, they absolutely love it. It's all on digital and they want to own that one copy of it, all online, then they could buy that NFT. So you'll see that you're actually going to have, in the future, way more kind of NFT artists. In the sense you're going to see your Banksys and they're all going to be developing on NFTs. This is all 6 years down the road. It's not now. I think it's all starting to become a bit like you put a load of NFTs out, it's kind of all just pointless. And it goes for hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So that's where I really do see NFTs. I think the biggest store of value in the cryptocurrency right now, which will make the most, is Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin, my price target on Bitcoin is 300,000. I'm just doing it around the market cap of gold right now. So that's around like 300k. So I know people like Pomp think it's going to 1 million. I'm not full blown Bitcoin maximalist right now. But I do just think it's going to be such a superior store of value. I mean, Peter Schiff tweeted today that he finally accepted he was wrong about Bitcoin as an April Fool's joke. But I think the joke's going to be on him in like a few years when he actually does accept it.
Let me ask you about that. Let me ask you about that, because I think, so there's this narrative, right, that Bitcoin is the new gold. And I find it so fascinating how they say it's easier to sell Bitcoin as an investment to your generation than it is to sell gold as an investment. I mean, you even said at the beginning of this, at the beginning of the podcast, you said, you know, you can't carry it around with you. It's difficult to transact in. So although it's pretty gold, it's nice and shiny, you know, it's not really something which the next generation are going to care that much about. Bitcoin is an easier sell, don't you think?
Yeah, literally, no one cares about gold in anyone who I know. I think Bitcoin in my era, perfect example. Peter Schiff has a son called Spencer Schiff. The guy's the biggest Bitcoin maximalist I've ever seen. He's all in on Bitcoin, 100% Bitcoin. I think that really kind of does show that kind of stark difference between somebody like Spencer Schiff, who's way younger in university right now, and his dad, who's proper into Bitcoin, you know, now, and he's, I don't know what, Peter Schiff is probably like 50, 60 now. So it's kind of the point where the younger generation is just embracing Bitcoin now. If you ask kids about my age about Bitcoin, most of them are going to have no clue, just because, you know, they're that young, they're not really interested in that kind of stuff now. But older and older, it's going to be kind of, Bitcoin will be way more accepted than gold at 100%.
You know, the older you get, you're going to get people, your friends are going to be, let's say in at least 5 years, your friends are going to be bugging you about how to invest. I'm absolutely telling you, they're going to be bugging you because you have all the answers. And I mean, even my family have been bugging me about Bitcoin, and I don't have all the answers. You know, I have some of the answers, but I don't have all of them. But your friends are going to be absolutely bugging you. But anyway, why do you think then people like Peter Schiff can't get on board? Even people like Warren Buffett. What's the problem?
Well, I think in the sense of stuck in the past, you know, they live with gold for their whole life. Then a brand new revolutionary digital currency comes along. They've seen the growth of the internet in the one sense from the early 2000s to now. As many people, I mean, like your age and loads of people have seen the growth of the internet now.
Yeah.
But they've all seen it progress. But I think especially when you're older and you may be in like 70s, 60s, it's a lot harder to accept, especially if you've been really passionate about something gold your whole life. Even if you start to kind of crave into Bitcoin, you're always going to always reject it, just because there's one thing in your mind which is always like, gold is physical. I can see gold. I can hold it. I can hold it up. I can break it, whatever that may be. But I actually have it. I can have it storing in my room. I can have it storing in my vault. I've got it in physically. Compared to they struggle to see Bitcoin as something which is on the internet. So or in the Bitcoin network. So they struggle to see how you can actually touch it. And how that has physical value, like I'm recording on the Mac right now. I can you know, do the keyboard, whatever, or do the mouse. But the point is that this is all physical, and they struggle to accept that stuff's just moving online. It's all moving online now. They just can't see that all happening, and they just can't accept it. So in a sense, I think they're kind of a bit stuck in the past, and maybe they were great once, but maybe they're kind of like falling behind the times now.
Yeah, I think it's so hard when you made your fortune and you made your wealth doing one thing, and then something new comes along, and it's just easier to just say, no, that's rubbish, because you don't want to have to adapt and change. And they always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So maybe, you know, it's something like that. I mean, even my dad, when Tesla invested into Bitcoin, I was going crazy. I was like, wow, this is so insane. And I told my dad, and his first response was, so when are you selling? And I'm like, oh, you don't get it. This means hold even tighter, you know? So I think it's so interesting. And I think, you know, I was actually telling my grandfather, I mean, he's 93. I was telling him about Bitcoin, and he thought it was criminal. And his first response was, you know, does your father know what's going on? And it's crazy, you know? So what are you holding then? You're holding Bitcoin, right? Can you tell us anything else?
Yes, I'm holding Bitcoin, Ethereum right now, and I've got some kind of funky tokens some people sent me on the Ethereum network. So I've just already got Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. It's probably like a 60-40 split right now. So I'm really big on crypto in the one sense. I think it's the next kind of store of wealth. I do think Bitcoin is going to be a place where it's always going to be that store. You'll see mass adoption in the sense that people will now be able to pay with Bitcoin. And, I think there's some people talk about the risk that Bitcoin might get deregulated or regulation will come in. I think governments love Bitcoin because it's open, it's secure, they can see all the transactions happening on it. I just think the only reason governments would regulate it or do anything in sense of regulation is just to get their fair share of the taxes side of it.
Yeah.
That's all the only thing governments are really concerned about. They just want their fair share of the taxes. For example, you might see a Bitcoin being banned in Pakistan or somewhere where in the east, compared to you get somewhere
India
here, which is a lot more, completely open, open speech. You can have protests. You've got all this kind of free speech.
Almost,
the world we live in the West and in the West. So it's kind of like they won't. It'd be harder to really push a ban on Bitcoin. But I don't think it's risk of a ban now. It's just where they want their taxes and where they want to introduce something. But I do think that's the only really real risk with Bitcoin. There's also supply. Bitcoin's completely based on the supply and demand. You have to have supply and demand for Bitcoin. With something like Tesla, if Tesla builds loads of gigafactories, Tesla does well in autonomy, and Tesla makes in billions or trillions, whatever from all their business sectors. Tesla's stock price would rise with it, obviously. But compared to something like Bitcoin, it does have to be that mass adopted. So in a sense, you've got to have constant supply and demand for it. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. Is more and more people starting to hear about Bitcoin and realize Bitcoin is come away from that less illegal activity now and all that talk of illegal activity. And it's now talking to how it's such a phenomenal store of value. So I do think Bitcoin's got the most potential out of Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think Ethereum's potential is where you've got the whole network, everything built around that network to transact on it. You can buy online paintings now for NFTs. You can buy all these amazing kind of things, all these funky things. You can buy new kind of coins on the Ethereum network. Are they going to be worth anything or not? That's a different question. But the point is, it's just such a whole layer around Ethereum. Then you're going to see Ethereum too, and then hopefully you're going to get gas prices lowered. So I think that's the one thing stopping Ethereum from really having a breakout is just how much gas costs, because it's kind of insane. A few years ago, like last year, it would cost a few bucks. Now it's like something like $20-30 if I wanted to buy a coin or whatever. So I think if you get the gas prices down with Ethereum too, with all the new updates coming to Ethereum, then you can really see mass adoption on the side of Ethereum. So I do think that's where the potential lies. I say longer term, Bitcoin does have the most chance of being successful. I think if Ethereum can get even near the popularity of Bitcoin and people start to accept it as kind of a whole transaction network, then you could see Ethereum really take off alongside Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think you make a really interesting point, just going back to the point about regulation, because I think it does come down to governments kind of wanting their fair share and wanting to get their cut. Because like you said, there was this concern initially that Bitcoin was the best answer, the best vehicle for criminal activity. And as we know with blockchain technology, that's obviously not the case. Everything can be tracked and traced, and cash is far better, to use if you want to like launder money or whatever it is. So yeah, that narrative has definitely been broken down. I think so. In Nigeria, they put some heavy regulations there, which stopped people from trading, and then it ended up trading at a premium. But I think they actually went back on that. I need to check it out, but I think they reversed it because they sort of realized that
fees or something to even get more Bitcoin. They paid like 90 grand a Bitcoin, even when it was made illegal in Nigeria, just so they could actually own Bitcoin. So I think in African countries is there for Bitcoin. Bitcoin could be the solution to some of Africa's poverty. In the sense, I don't go full in with some of that kind of argument. I see people always saying, "Oh, Bitcoin's the answer to Africa. Africa's super poor in itself." So I think the first thing for Africa is actually getting all that technology into it. So I mean, something like Starlink could really solve that, as you can get it in without building all the wires. You can have it all beam down from the skies, because as I said, more SpaceX rockets into the sky, which gives Starlink a huge advantage. So I think the main focus for Africa, in a sense, is just technology and growing. But then if you start getting the phase of more technology going to Africa, which I think is really the last continent to be taken up to some sort of modern standards, how the West is living, or maybe somewhere in Asia or even China in that sense. And as soon as you get kind of that standard starting taken up for all the African countries, then you could see Bitcoin become a solution to Africa and helping more people get out of poverty in Africa. But that's my view on that. I don't know what your original thing was.
Well, no, I totally agree with you. That's one of the main things actually that drew me to this space initially. It was literally blockchain in Africa, like Bitcoin aside, there's this whole blockchain in Africa movement. And I'm absolutely fascinated by it because there's this idea that Africa are going to skip industrial revolutions and, are just going to be totally unbanked, and that'd be absolutely fine. But I think that's where DeFi comes in a little bit. And I'm really kind of uncomfortable with DeFi. I like it, I get it. But I think it's really I find it quite hard to navigate and, and know what's good and what's not, honestly. There's just been so many rug pulls. But I was actually doing an interview with a company called, I think it's called Zen Finance. And they're huge in Nigeria. And I didn't know this, but apparently there are limits about how much you're maybe allowed to spend or trade. I can't remember, but apparently there's like $100 a day limit on something in Nigeria. And I was absolutely blown away. And these DeFi protocols are out there making a difference. And, I thought that was insane, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think DeFi has got potential, but I just find it quite hard to, go through all of it.
Yeah.
See what is good or bad. So I think one day I need to just see a full blown thing into DeFi. And just spend instead of looking at stocks, it's just like DeFi, DeFi, DeFi. Then kind of get your head around it and actually decide what's good or bad. I think right now I just stick with kind of my core kind of thing, which is Bitcoin. In my kind of mind, I've got my Ethereum, my 60-40 split, but I'm super big on kind of Bitcoin as like the main thing. I think I actually own some GBTC, which is basically Bitcoin on the Ethereum network. It's backed by one Bitcoin, so it follows the exact price of Bitcoin. And I own some of that as my Bitcoin holding as well, I think.
Nice, that's amazing. I'm sure there have been some amazing comments, by the way, just to let you know. I'm sure somebody will give you some DeFi tips in the comments. I'm sure someone will reach out to you. So guys, follow Young Investor. He's absolutely amazing, and give him some DeFi tips. But I wanted to ask you, were you following the Robinhood scandal with GME and AME?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of vocal in the kind of Robinhood scandal. I think GME, I mean, it's still like $100 right now. I think the first run of Wall Street bets, it's brilliant. It's squeezing it to a short as they manipulated your stock prices for such a long time. In a sense, now it's becoming kind of a new face of investing, which I kind of think you don't want. It's kind of the face of investing is Wall Street bets. You're not doing. I mean, look at someone like Keith McGill, who's Ron Kitty, all on Reddit and all that. The really first person to be proper into GME at $4. He'd done his research and he concluded it was super duper undervalued. And he did hours of DCF modeling on the thing, on all his live streams from back in the day. There's one live stream which only got one person for a 4-hour live stream in the chat. So I think he was just looking at those stocks as the kind of thing where Jimmy's super undervalued in Wall Street, and he started posting on Wall Street Bets Reddit. And Wall Street Bets was his really first ever big pump of Wall Street Bets to actually proper start influencing the stock market and going beyond the realm of penny stocks and into the big cap stocks. It's worth the $2 billion. So it's GME. I do think the second time round, which you're seeing with a lot of the companies, maybe it's kind of a bit where it's become the face of investing, and then so many people have lost money through the GME, all the GME saga.
Yeah,
there's some random security guy who's like 2060. He's got an $11,000 loan, which was all his net worth, which he had done it all on, to put it all on GME at like $300, which is a bit, come on, mate, that's a bit insane, and you lost it all, obviously. So it's kind of thing where it's kind of become the new face of it, whether that's good or not. I do think Robinhood blocking the trades is super. There's something shady going on in the sense. But I'm starting to think whether it is actually Robinhood or not. Because originally then I was kind of all set on it's Robinhood, but after doing a bit more research into it, it seems in my eyes like somebody at Citadel who's holding the tradings for Robinhood. It wasn't just Robinhood affected. Robinhood got slack, but Webull, they should all shut it down apart from SoFi. So I do think that looking at it all, I think maybe there's something shady going on. That might be through Citadel. So something like Citadel Securities, which is the transacting of all the kind of inflow of orders, which I'm sending every day or whatever you send every day, and which is transacting and buy and sells. And then Citadel, which is a hedge fund. They both own by the same company, but they said there's no collusion. There's obviously some sort of collusion. The CEO is the exact same of both companies. There's absolutely no collusion, they said. So there's definitely been collusion somewhere, in my eyes, in the network. With Robinhood solely to blame for that. I'm not too sure if that's really the truth of it.
Yeah, I was watching an interview that the CEO did. I think it was his name Vladimir or something like that. Yeah, Vlad. So he did an interview, I think it was with CNBC, and do you ever get when you're watching someone really closely and you're trying to listen to every single word they're saying to really try and understand? And I swear to you, he said nothing. I really got no, they asked him, was it a problem with liquidity? No, it wasn't a problem with liquidity. And literally absolutely nothing. It was so insane. But also there are some questions for you in the chat. So I'm wondering, would you want to do a little AMA really quickly? Are you cool with that?
Sure. Fire away.
Yeah, okay, guys. So if you have any questions for our young investor, drop them in the chat now. So there are some really interesting ones, and one which I wanted to ask you, but I actually forgot myself. So here we go. Wondering if he had any issues opening up trading accounts because of his age. This kid is impressive. Totally agree, or really cool. So did you have any age restrictions? And even on Twitter, is there an minimum age?
I'm 13, so like I'm in like the Twitter restrictions, but just right now. But
Okay.
I think with the trading account kind of story, so I just got my mum to open a trading account. So just do it all in her name. My mum's got like no clue what I do in my trading account. It's just like, well, she's got absolutely no clue about anything about finance at all. So I just got my mum to open it so I can do it myself, obviously, because I don't pay taxes and I'm not yet 18. Which I think it should be like something like 16, just because at 16 you start paying taxes anyway. So it's kind of like, well, if you pay taxes, you should be allowed to invest in the stock market legally anyway. At 18, then I'll probably just transfer it all to when I open a new account at 18. I'll just get it all transferred over there and just send it directly. I think you can transfer your stocks now. I know they do it in the States, but I had to check with my broker in the UK.
I love that you have that. That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, it's totally the same thing. I remember when I was younger, this sounds really weird because usually I'm always the youngest in the room. So this is a really strange experience. But when I was opening up a Facebook account back in like 2006, 2007, I wasn't old enough either. So I feel like most of the people on social media aren't old enough. Everybody sort of like jokes about their age. But there are a few more questions. Someone says, how old is he? So go on, for those that don't know.
13. I turned 13 like 2 weeks ago now. So yeah, so 13 2 weeks ago last Sunday, and then I got my new Mac for my like birthday, which is like a one-off kind of birthday present. So that's what I do my interviews on now. So before I used to use like my little phone, but now it's like really all improved quality. Got the microphone and everything. So really improved quality in terms of camera. In terms of what's your first big loss and for how did you react?
Yeah.
I haven't had a a big loss which would really be sizable. I might have lost like 10% of my stock I've sold before. I haven't really experienced that big loss. I'm sure I will at some point, but I think just because you've invested for 9 months, it's always been a super bull market for the last 9 months. I don't think it's kind of a bit harder unless you're going super all in on penny stocks or kind of a hype play. I might have got into maybe 1 or 2 kind of stocks that I only put like, I don't know, $50 into is kind of a super spec play where I might have lost, I don't know, like 10% or whatever. There's nothing really which kind of in my core portfolio which I've actually lost loads of money on.
Okay, cool. Let's have a look what else we've got here. So many questions. All right, I'm trying to get some friendly ones. Here we go. What do you look for when investing in altcoins, specifically DeFi tokens? We did kind of touch on this, but go for it.
Yeah, so when I kind of I'm looking for something which has been around for a while. Number one, I don't want to buy something that's completely new. So use stocks is kind of the main thing I'm in. I look at stocks as something which was originally experimented about 1 or 2 years ago. Super not hyped at all. So stocks was started selling for $12. As an experiment, it was literally an experiment by the creators of Uniswap, Hayden Adam Jones, and all the guys over there. And they did this huge experiment. And the guy I know who I did a thing with once, Mike DeMaurice, he brought something like 10 socks that's something like $12. He's what I call the only socks maximalist in the entire world. He's like full-blown socks. He wears socks. He wears with uni socks on it. He wears like $100,000 socks. He's like full-blown. He's for like full-blown socks. So I think unlike some, it can be copied. Like those stuff on the network can be not exactly copied by some of the code, but something like uni socks. Yeah, somebody else can release their own kind of socks. I think something like that, which has been on network for way longer than all the new kind of things coming into it, is something which is really cool. And I haven't brought any NFTs yet. But I'm kind of browsing some, like I know Gally from Hyperchain Troy interviewed. He when he buys NFTs, it's not because he wants to make money on them. He actually appreciates what they are and what the artwork is.
Okay.
So I'm not super involved in kind of DeFi right now. I think I just need to do a few more hours of digging into it and really start to conclude what is that greatest, what is the best and what is the worst. I do think it's more maybe established stuff right now.
Yeah, well, you're getting a great fan base here, so I'm sure I'm sure somebody's going to come and help you with some DeFi info. Here's another good one. Where did it go? I want to put it up on the screen. Here we go. What's his hottest penny stock drop?
Yeah, so the kind of one which I got super high conviction. I own like a few. It's like 5% of my portfolio. I think super high conviction is peak. It's not fully full blown penny stock, but it's around $300 million market cap, so it will move like a penny stock. Also, one of the things I will add to peak, because I talked about it earlier, is how well the stock price holds up in terms of if you get a correction or something. You know, the whole market's been in downturn. Peak during when all the growth stocks like Tesla, they were all down like 5% plus. Peak was down something like 0.88%. So I also think Peak's really the only penny stock I've seen where people invest in it, actually know what they're invested in. They've actually done loads of research for it. So I think Peak's my like top one. I won't repeat everything I said, but if you just wind it back, then you can see what I was saying a minute ago.
All right, and just last question for you, because I want to dig in on this right at the end. Do you plan to leave school ASAP? Oh, what a great question.
No, I'm probably going to stay school to like 6th form or something, but further education, university, maybe not, maybe. I'll just see how it goes. But yeah, I think I've like some of my friends did homeschooling, like after they left primary school or something. Yeah, I didn't really keep in touch. I know like super good friends, and so I think homeschool is kind of thing where you just kind of lose social contact with people. I think it's always good to be in contact with people. You know, have that kind of social interaction because we've seen with COVID, when you don't interact with people and how much it damages people's mental health and all that kind of stuff. So I think school's always like a great place to go to, but maybe not further education.
I think you're so intelligent, and I think that you are in the most incredible position I've ever seen someone of your age be in. You know, not just having an understanding of finance and being able to trade, but also your understanding of the world. You know, like I was saying earlier, on Twitter, there's so much conversation about the world, right? Like even conversation about COVID and how we as people should react to that, you know, and whether it's our responsibility or your responsibility and all this stuff. And I just think having exposure to these kind of conversations, I'm just honestly so blown away. I think you're absolutely incredible. Somebody's just written, lol, she's interviewing a millionaire kid already. I mean, I won't ask you about that, but no, I think you're honestly so fantastic. And I just want to wish you the best of luck with everything that you do. And also, one thing that I will say is just continue to do what you're doing. Don't let anybody pull you off track. Don't let, people will be jealous, and just stay focused, do what you're doing. Because I've never, ever seen someone so intelligent and just so on it and so worldly at such a young age. I just think it's fantastic. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. What are you up to now, and how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can watch my YouTube channel, which is Young Investor. I've had a few guests on recently. Go watch like 3 videos ago. Like I was doing loads of stock videos, so you can watch it on there, or you can follow me at Investor2 on Twitter, or just look up Young Investor. I should be like near the top or first search result when you look that up. So yeah, that's really my like 2 main feeds, and I've also got a Discord group, and there's a link on the pinned comment of my Twitter for that.
There you go. I want to thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. And guys, don't forget to follow him. He's a little genius. He'll make you a genius. So guys, give him a follow, and thank you all for tuning in. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.